Hello everyone. Welcome back. I'm Bumi, and today we are watching One of These Can End Your Life by MrBallen. Now, there could be a lot of things that can end your life in just one quantity. A bullet, a missile, a knife. Well, I can think of a lot of things, but based on the thumbnail, I'm not actually sure what that is, but it it kind of reminds me of a cyanide pill, the one that soldiers and other combatants use to kill themselves in case they get captured. But I'm not sure if that's what it is. So I'm gonna stick with that and let MrBallen do the talking on what that actually is. So remember, if you like my reactions, don't forget to leave a like. Let me know your thoughts on the video down in the comment section below and consider subscribing. We are trying to get to 1,000 subs this year, so hopefully you guys can help me out with that. Also, don't forget to leave your suggestions on what I should check out next. That being said, let's go ahead and watch the video.
The scary part about today's story is it could happen to anyone. But before we get into today's
Anyone.
story, if you're a fan of the strange, dark, and mysterious delivered in story format, then you've come to the right place because that's all we do, and we upload 3 or 4 times every week. So if that's of interest to you, please gift the like button one of those magic 8 balls that tells the future, but change all of the potential responses to reply hazy, try again. Also, please subscribe to our channel and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of our weekly uploads. All right, let's get into today's story.
Alright, let's see what it actually is.
On the night of October 25th, 2009, a fit, healthy 30-year-old man named Alex was at home in San Diego watching TV in bed. At some point, he noticed there was a slight pain in his left Achilles tendon. A tendon is the fibrous connective tissue that connects muscle to bone, and the Achilles tendon is the biggest tendon in your whole body, and it's the one you can feel on the back of your ankle. It connects your calf muscle to your heel. Alex had never had tendon pain before, and so he assumed it must just be tightness from the long walk he had taken that night around his neighborhood. And so after massaging it for a little while, eventually he kind of forgot about it and just kept watching TV until he fell asleep for the night. The next morning when Alex woke up, he immediately recognized that the pain in his left Achilles tendon was 10
Wait,
times
what was
worse.
that?
It was
What the hell was that? I saw something pop up in his chest there.
recognized that the pain
What is that thing? Is that the Easter egg?
in his left Achilles tendon was 10 times worse. It was blindingly painful, and then his right Achilles tendon was also now starting to hurt. And so he reflexively reached under the covers and tried to massage his sore tendons, but as soon as he touched the backs of his legs, he felt shooting pain in that area, and so he couldn't touch them anymore. And so instead, he swung his legs off the bed and he sat up on the edge of his bed. And then he slowly rocked forward until he transferred his weight onto his feet and tried to stand up. And as soon as he did, he fell to the ground because of the blinding pain in his tendons. And so he manages to pull himself back up using the bed. And then he hobbles his way out of his bedroom over to the top of the stairs. And then he grabs the railing and he carefully makes his way down the stairs. And as he's walking, it feels like the tendons are so tight, they're going to snap like a rubber band. And so he gets to the bottom
Both
of the stairs.
of the tendons?
And he walks his way around into the kitchen, where he sits down and he kind of evaluates what's going on, and he thinks to himself, man, I must be developing a wicked case of tendinitis. Tendinitis is inflammation or irritation of the tendon. And so Alex grabbed his laptop, which was right in front of him. He opened it up and he began looking for ways to alleviate pain from tendinitis. And so after looking at a couple medical
After looking at a couple of medical posts, he probably ended up with cancer. As what you always get if you like Google symptoms on, well, Google, you always get cancer.
forums, he got up and hobbled his way over to the bathroom. He opened up the medicine cabinet and he grabbed the Icy Hot, which is a topical pain reliever. And then he hobbled his way into the first floor living room, where he laid down on the couch, and then he applied a healthy amount of Icy Hot on the backs of both of his legs right over his tendons. And then he propped his legs up on 2 pillows. And so he laid there and he's thinking, okay, so it's the weekend, I have today off, I'll just lay here until the pain subsides. But by that evening, the pain had not subsided, it had gotten progressively worse. And so Alex picked up the phone and he called a podiatrist, which is a doctor who specializes in feet and the lower half of your leg. And he made an appointment for the following morning to have a look at his Achilles tendons.
Okay, so I'm like every minute that passes in this video, I'm guessing it's no longer a cyanide pill. It could be something else.
So after he hung up, Alex thought to himself, the best thing I can do is probably just go to bed. I'm bound to feel better in the morning. And so Alex hobbles his way back up the stairs, holding onto the railing, and he goes into his bathroom to wash his face. He reaches for the towel, and he notices his thumb is suddenly locked up, and he can't move his thumb. And then his other thumb, too, locks up. And he's looking at them, and he can't get them to move. And so with his other fingers, he tries to move that thumb and bend that thumb, but he can't do it. The tendon in both of his thumbs had suddenly become unbelievably tight to the point where he couldn't move his thumbs anymore.
Yeah, I've had this issue a couple of months ago. Well, it was in December. Yeah, when my hands would lock up like this. Like in our house, we jokingly called it like the Doctor Strange hands because I'm usually like this. Yeah, this is when I had like deficiency in with potassium. I had basically muscle weakness, and one of the medicines that the doctors prescribed me, I believe, lowered my blood sugar, which in turn I took a medicine for that increased my blood pressure, which was funny. So yeah, I was like that for a couple of days until my muscle weakness on my like legs are healed. Funny enough, as I'm making this video right now, it's starting to hurt again. So I may have to take a couple more like potassium medicine pills again. Actually, I had to get one tomorrow.
Up until this point, Alex had convinced himself that whatever was happening with his Achilles tendons was probably minor, that with or without medical intervention, it was bound to just get better. But now he wasn't so sure, because the thumb situation, that really scared him. He had never experienced anything like that, and he couldn't help but think that whatever was happening in his thumbs was probably what was happening in his Achilles, making this a much more complex problem. So Alex forgets about washing his face or even going to bed, and instead leaves the bathroom and grabs the railing,
Calls
and
911.
back downstairs. He makes his way into the kitchen with the stiff thumbs, and he sits down at the table. He opens up his laptop, and he begins looking for any information about what is happening to him. A few minutes into his search, he was about to type something into Google when all of a sudden he felt the rest of his fingers start to lock up.
Yeah.
The tendons in his fingers were tightening up, just like his thumbs and just like his Achilles tendons. And so now Alex is going into crisis mode. He doesn't know what's happening to him. He has no idea what to do, but he manages to calm himself down, and he told himself, Alex, tomorrow you got a doctor's appointment. They'll know what's wrong with you. They will fix this. Everything's going to be just fine. And so despite his overwhelming urge to panic, he closes his laptop and he hobbles his way over to the stairs. He climbs up to the second floor and he goes directly into his bedroom.
Why go back there?
Sleep. The next
He should have just stayed in the first floor to make things easier for him, just in case.
morning when he woke up, the tightness and pain in his Achilles tendons and in his hands had not gotten any worse. And that kind of comforted Alex. He's thinking, okay, we're past the worst of this. I just need to figure out what this is and then fix it. And so he crawled out of bed, he hobbled his way over to the stairs, he went down, he grabbed a quick bite to eat, and then he went outside to his car to head out to his doctor's appointment.
Is that really safe to drive? Because you'd think locked hands, it will make it very hard to drive. Trust me, I've tried that when I had when my hands locked up. That is very dangerous.
He reached for the door handle, and when he pulled on it, he felt an unbelievable surge of pain in the hand that was on the car. And when he looked down, all of the joints in that hand that had been pulling on the car, they had all separated. Like the connective tissue that kept his finger whole was no longer strong enough. So Alex screamed and he retracted his hand in horror. And when he looked at it, the joints had gone back to normal, but the pain in this hand persisted. And so on adrenaline alone, Alex managed to use his other hand and got the car door open. He went inside, and then he could barely grip the steering wheel because one hand is now wrecked and his other hand is not much better. But he managed to speed to the doctor's office, and then when he got inside, he could barely fill out the paperwork because one hand was wrecked and the other wasn't much better, so he couldn't grip the pen. But after he gave them his paperwork, the doctor finally came out and they brought him back to an exam room, and that's when Alex explained that originally it was just his Achilles tendons. That's why he had called for this appointment, But after making that appointment, not only had the pain in his Achilles gotten much, much worse, but there was also now pain and tightness in his hands, including one hand that had just fallen apart when he tried to open a door. Alex told the doctor that he had never experienced anything even remotely resembling this in his entire life. He led a very healthy lifestyle and really had no idea what could be causing this. Although he did say 10 days prior, he had finished a round of antibiotics. The drug was called Cipro, but previously he had used this drug with no issues. But as a precaution, he told the doctor, because he knew one of the side effects of this drug was tendon problems. And so as a precaution, Alex had actually brought the paperwork for that drug, Cipro, and he gave it to the doctor. And so the doctor, after hearing the story, he reads through the fact sheet of this drug, and he tells Alex that he doesn't think it's a side effect of the drug. He thinks Alex is showing all the signs of having an autoimmune disease, like lupus or multiple sclerosis, and that he needs to go to a rheumatologist and get tested for that. And so Alex is horrified by this. He can't believe that only a couple of days ago, he was totally normal, and now it felt like his whole life was falling apart. And so he left that appointment, he went out to his car, and he called a rheumatologist, and he set up an appointment for a couple of days later to get tested, and then he went home. And over the next couple of days, as he waited for that next appointment, his condition only got worse. Every muscle, joint, and connective tissue in his body.
Wouldn't that be like make you eligible to be brought to the emergency room? Well, you're probably gonna have to pay a huge fine if this is from the U.S. But what was that? But that might have been a better choice rather than just wait for the appointment.
Was either extremely tight or hurt or both. By the time he made it to the rheumatologist's office, he could barely move on his own. After the doctor had run several tests on Alex, Alex began mentally preparing himself to be told that he had an autoimmune disease. He believed at this point that that was the most logical explanation for what was happening to him. But when the test results came back in, to Alex's shock, he was negative across the board. He did not have an autoimmune disease. And so Alex hobbled out of the office, he got out to his car, he sat down, and he was in pain and at a loss. He had no idea what was happening to his body, and it seemed like none of the experts knew either. And so when Alex got back to his house, he made his way into the kitchen and he sat down to do some more research, but he felt like he was at a loss there too. He didn't even know what to research.
I mean, didn't the doctor at least recommended something for him? Like go to the emergency office or emergency room or whatever, to the hospital. Wouldn't that have made a difference? At least he could have stayed there and have like, I'm not sure if I forgot the guy's name. I'm not sure if he lives alone, but if he does, the hospital might have been a safer place for him.
He had searched for every possible combination of pain, tightness in your Achilles, pain, tightness in your hands and your fingers, and nothing was lining up with his experience. And so he thought to himself, you know, even though that podiatrist ruled out the antibiotic he had taken a cycle of before he started feeling the way he was feeling, even though he ruled that out, I might as well do some more research on it because it's the one thing I can point to that was newly introduced to my life before I had all these things happen to me.
That's a smart move.
He opened up his laptop and he typed in Cipro side effects, and what he discovered horrified him. Cipro is part of a class of antibiotics called fluoroquinolones, and while it is a very effective antibiotic, it comes with extremely severe side effects. And enough people who have taken a fluoroquinolone have suffered from these side effects that there's actually a term given to them. They are said to have been floxed. And as Alex discovered in his research, there are many online communities for these floxed individuals, many of which used to be healthy and fit, but after taking these drugs, they became bedridden or had to transition to a wheelchair. This is due to one of the nastiest side effects of this class of drug: ruptured tendons. As a reminder, a tendon connects muscle to bone. And so if you were to say a tendon has ruptured, what you're actually saying is the muscle has torn off of the bone. And apparently, this is unbelievably painful.
Yeah,
and
I can imagine.
Always requires surgery to fix. And in many of these floxing cases, the fluoroquinolone drugs cause these people's tendons to start dramatically tightening until they just start rupturing. And there's nothing they can do to stop it unless they stop moving. hence becoming bedridden and transitioning to wheelchairs. When Alex read all these horrible testimonials of people who had been floxed, he realized their experience mimicked his own. He was floxed. But once he knew what he was up against, he began looking for a timeline. How long would he have these symptoms for? And what he saw was most people experience these awful symptoms for about 3 months and then they fade away. So for 3 months,
3
Alex
months?
suffered, but he stayed positive. He was certain he was going to get better. But 3 months came and went, and he didn't get better. In fact, he got worse. All of his tendons continued to tighten, and some of them ruptured, and he had to quit his job and had to move in with his parents. But he stayed positive. He went back online, and he began reading about more severe floxing cases, and he saw those people typically saw a big turnaround at the 3-year mark. And while that was
3
overwhelming
years?
and awful and disheartening, he at least had something to look at as the light at the end of the tunnel. And so for 3 more years, he waited and
Wait,
waited
is this
in pain.
end your
He
life? Yeah, it
eventually
is end
became
your life.
completely bedridden and completely dependent on his parents. But then the 3-year mark came and went, and much like the 3-month mark, nothing got better.
happened.
He just got worse. And that was when Alex realized he was in the range of people that suffered from their floxing permanently. In 2016, so 7 years
rough.
after taking that fateful dose of Cipro, he wrote a blog post on his website updating the world about his condition. In it, he says he's only gotten worse and that his life effectively came to an end in 2009 when, over a 6-day period, he swallowed those 12 Cipro pills. And so now all he looks forward to is his death. So that's going to do it, guys. If you found the secret in this video, let us know in the comments section what it is.
Yeah, I think the secret is the beam that popped up in his chest early on. But yeah, it's just the Easter egg now, but damn. And it was for a side effect. Shit, that sucks. Yeah, I kind of get how he was feeling. Well, with the locked hands part. Well, I could kind of get the. Well, the one that I was experiencing a couple of months ago was not like tendon pains. It was a lot of calf and thigh pains because, well, I had muscle weakness. So basically, I cannot put any strength in my muscles, and as you can see, I'm a pretty fat guy, so it takes a lot of leg power to pull me up every time. But yeah, I dropped out once when I was trying to stand up, but couldn't really like hold my strength to any of my legs. And then when I got worse, before I was sent to the hospital, I think I was wearing this exact shirt when I went to the hospital. But yeah, regardless, that's beside the point. Oh shit. Oh, that almost ruined my dying earphones. But yeah, it got worse. The lack of like strength, or basically muscle weakness, climbed up to my arms, so I couldn't even hold the crutches if I wanted to. So yeah, they had to drag my ass to the hospital, which was embarrassing for me. Just yeah, I was contemplating about giving you a couple of details that happened, but nah, it is bad. But yeah, that sucks though. The one drug, basically your life ended just because of a side effect for one drug. I mean, at that point, with so many cases, I'm surprised they're still selling that, to be honest, especially if it's that like deadly. But that's gonna be it for me today, guys. Link to my Twitter is down in the description below. Go ahead and check it out if you want to, and if you're new here and enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like. Let me know your thoughts on the video down in the comment section below, and consider subscribing. Also, don't forget to leave your suggestions on what I should check out next. That being said, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!